Good evening. Welcome to the Moshiach Mystery series. So this evening we will be continuing discussing about the special avodah that is required of us in these days. So we discussed in the previous Shiurim, in our previous classes, about how specifically in these times the Lubavitcher Rebbe has told us we are standing on the threshold of Geula, the threshold of redemption. So the question is so how does that make our avodas Hashem different? What are we doing different now that we weren't doing before? That's the question. So in our last shiur, our last class, we talked about how now our efforts have to be focused on how everything how everything we're doing is to bring the Geula. So if you look in the Sichos, the Rebbe's talks in the spring, in the summer of Tafshin Nun Aleph, 1991, you'll see that right after the famous Sicha of Chavches Nisan, 28th of Nisan, where the Rebbe made an hour mission and gave us the responsibility, each and every one of us, to do whatever they can to bring Moshiach. So in the following weeks, right after Chavches Nisan, the Rebbe spoke about how we have to do everything, continue that same theme about how we have to do whatever we can to bring Moshiach. But if you look in the Sichos of the coming weeks, and later in that spring, in the summer, you see there's a different message, seemingly a different message about what our avodah needs to be. So, and that is the concept that we have to start living with Mashiach. So what is this? So that's what I want to talk about tonight. What's this concept, at least in general, of living with Mashiach? What's this new idea that the Rebbe said that now we have to start living with the time of Yemais Mashiach? So let's just preface this whole concept that we have to live. There's a concept we know from the Alter Rebbe that we have to live with the times. What's the concept of living with the times? It's brought down in the Hayom Yom, that we have to live with the Parshas HaShavua, and the Rebbe extended that to every single date, and every single holiday, every single Yom Tov. We have to try to live with that holiday. We have to try to experience that holiday. So, for example, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, what's Rosh Hashanah all about? Tamlichuni Aleichem, but anointing Hashem as king. So when Rosh Hashanah comes, we have to try to live that idea. We have to try to experience what's really happening on Rosh Hashanah, crowning Hashem as king. So what that means in our context is, although we're still in Golus, we're still in exile till Moshiach actually comes and takes us out of exile and changes the world, we're still in Golus. Nevertheless, since we're holding already on the threshold of Geula, we're literally, Moshiach is about to come, so we can already start living with, we can already start experiencing the time of Yemais Mashiach. We can start living that time. So let's look over here at the Sicha of Shabbos Parshas Balak, Tafshin Nun Aleph. So one of the, let's say probably the directives that the Rebbe gave most during that time period, in those 11 months after Chavches Nisan, the Sicha, the 28th of Nisan, and Chav Zayin Adar, the 27th of Adar, when the Rebbe had a stroke, was the Rebbe spoke about how we have to learn about Mashiach, learn in Yoni Moshiach and Geulah, learn about Geula. So, in the Sicha of Shabbos Parshas Tazriim Etzaira from Tafshin Nun Aleph in 1991, Rebbe said that what's the whole idea? The whole idea is that through learning about Mashiach, that's the way to bring Mashiach closer. But if you look in the Sicha of Shabbos Parshas Balak, that same year, a couple weeks later, a couple months later, this was the Shabbos of Shivasu B'Tammuz Nidche. So the Rebbe has a different reason, a whole different message of why we have to learn in Moshiach and Geulah. So if you look on page 691, on the last paragraph, the left-hand column, the last paragraph, the Rebbe writes like this: so similar to what we've been talking about in the last time period about a special edition studying Torah studying about redemption and Mashiach. So the Rebbe explains, learning in Yoni Geula Mashiach, it's not just a segula, so to say, it's just like a way of hastening the coming of Mashiach. Elegam uve'ikr, kedei lahaschel lichyais b'inyani Mashiach u'Geula. The concept is we have to start living with the concepts of Mashiach and Geulah. Lichyais im hazman di Yemaisa Mashiach. We have to start living with the time of Yemaisa Mashiach, of the Messianic era. Al yidei zeh shehaseichel nasa Memula v'chodur. Through this, that our mind becomes filled, it becomes permeated by Havana v'Hasagim, b'inyanim Mashiach and Geulah shebatayra. We become permeated with the concept of Mashiach and Geulah and Torah. Umehaseichel mispashid v'chaydig am b'regesh halev. And from our minds, it then trickles down to the heart. It permeates the feelings in our heart. V'ad lahan haga b'poel b'machshava dibur ha'maisa, till it affects our actions, in our thoughts, in our speech, in our action. Ba'ofen ha'masim l'zman b'yichud zeh. We start acting in the way that fits with this special time. What's this special time? We're standing on the threshold of redemption. We're showing with our fingers that look, Mashiach is coming. So what's the Rebbe saying over here? The Rebbe is saying over here that it's not what we're doing now. It's not just we're trying to do whatever we can to make Mashiach come in the future. That's not the whole thing. Since we're living now in a special time, we're holding in the moments before the Geula, we're on the threshold of Geula, we could start living different now. Our avodas Hashem now could be different. When we learn about Mashiach, we learn about Geula, it's not just about we're trying to bring Mashiach. Through learning about Mashiach, we're going to bring Mashiach in the future. Through learning about Mashiach, we can live with Mashiach now. That's what the Rebbe is saying. And the same Sikha, the Rebbe goes on to discuss more about this idea. But that's the main point from that Sikha. So take a look also to explain a little bit more. If you look in the Sikha of on the Leil Simchas Torah on Tafshin Nun Beis. So this is on the night of Simchas Torah, end of 1991, 57-52. So in Siv Beis on page 39. So in the beginning of the Sikha, the Rebbe spoke about how we're holding on the threshold of Geula. Mashiach is coming. He names them Mashiach Ba. Mashiach is on his way. So in continuation with that, the Rebbe says the following: from this we also understand regarding the avodah of a yid that's required on Simchas Torah, and continuing that avodah throughout the entire year, especially this year. An avodah durchgenommen mit dem Inyan von Geula and Mashiach. It has to be an avodah which is permeated with the concept of redemption and Mashiach. Das heißt, this means to say, as a Yidens Aufführung in alle Inyanim in sein tagtäglichen Leben. Euch bis man azeh, take you from me and find the Geula. That means everything that a Jew does now in his daily life, in the moments before the Geula, is me'enu v'dugmas dem Leben und hanhaga von Yidin b'maisa Mashiach mamish. It is similar to the life and the way a Yid is going to act when Mashiach comes. And the Rebbe once again mentions, this is also why we're emphasizing lately about learning about Mashiach. We so to say, we have to learn the halachas that are relevant to the life of a Jew during the time of Geula. So the Rebbe is saying over here again that it's not just we're doing whatever we can to bring Geula, but it's that in the moments now before the Geula, we're living now in a way which is similar to the way Jews will live after the Geula. And in that very same Sikha, I'm not going to read it inside, the Rebbe goes on to explain that what's going to happen when Mashiach will come. We'll recognize that Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing else besides Hashem. So what does that mean? That means now we also have to live our lives in such a way of Ani Lo Nivresi El L'Sham Sheskayni. Live our lives in a way that we're here only to serve Hashem, since there's nothing else besides Hashem. So therefore we have to live our lives in such a way that we're living that there's nothing else besides Hashem. So again, it's not just we're doing whatever we can to bring Mashiach. Even in the moments before the Geula, we're already beginning to live in the way we're going to live after Mashiach comes. So just to explain maybe a little bit more why this is necessary. So I didn't make copies, but in the Sikha of Shabbos Parshas Pinchas, in Tafshin and Aleph, the Rebbe spoke about the concept of Machda Eretz Yisroel, the famous story of a chassid who once came to the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe the Tzemach Tzedek, and he asked him if he should travel to Eretz Yisroel. And the Tzemach Tzedek responded to him, Machda Eretz Yisroel, make Eretz Yisroel here, make this place like the land of Israel. So the Rebbe went on to explain what does that mean exactly? What does that mean for us today that we have to Machda Eretz Yisroel? The Rebbe explained that there's nothing in Yiddishkeit, nothing in Judaism which is just there by the way. There's nothing which is only a means to an end. There's no such thing that Hashem created something in the world that doesn't have a purpose in and of itself. So even if it is technically a preparation for something else, but since there's nothing that is for no reason, so there has to be a focus on that thing as a tachlis for itself, as a purpose in itself. So the Rebbe spoke about the concept of Golus, concept of exile. So simply Golus is a preparation for Geula. Exile it's a time when we're preparing for Mashiach. So the Rebbe says but we can't say that the focus of Golus is just to bring to Geula. If right now we're in Golus, right now we're in exile, so we have to do our avodah now b'tachlis hashlemus. We have to do our avodah now with the ultimate perfection. Because if Hashem created us today and put us at this moment in Golus, in exile, that means that He has a goal and He has a purpose for us being here and now in Golus. So the Rebbe was talking about Golus in general, right? The time of Golus in general. But it seems that this also connects to the general concept of the time period of Al Saf HaGeula, right? That we've been living in this time period already for quite a while, that we're holding on the threshold of redemption. Almost seems for too long. So it has to be that there's a purpose of living now in this time period. That now Hashem wants something from us during this time period of Al Saf HaGeula. That now we have to live similar to the way we're going to be, similar to the way we're going to live after Mashiach comes. And this itself has a purpose. The Rebbe brought there the famous story of the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, that once they were singing the Niggin before he said the Maimor, before he would say the Chassidic discourse, and the Chassidim, they were rushing through the Niggin because they wanted to hear the Maimor already. And the Rebbe Rashab said that a Pnimi, Chabad man Pnimius. Chabad demands we need to do things in an inward way. So what does that mean, Pnimius? A Pnimi, what's the exact lashon? Like, a pnimi, vur is lichter in dem ganzen. Yeah, someone who's a pnimi, who's an inward person, wherever he is, that's where he is completely. He's not thinking about anything else. So if now you're singing the niggin before the maimor, it's a focus on the niggin. Now you might say, oh, the niggin is just a preparation for the maimor, so let's just go through the preparation and get to the maimor. No. Chabad demands pnimius. Pnimius means wherever you are, you have to do it here completely. So now we're in Golos, this moment, we're a second before the Geula, so now you have to focus and do your avodah properly in this moment before Geula. Yeah. Okay, so now let's discuss a little bit. So what's unique about this concept of living with Geula that didn't exist before? The Rebbe keeps on emphasizing the fact that we're specifically holding al saf ha-Geula, we're holding on the threshold of redemption. So it would seem this whole concept of living with Mashiach is not something which was nischadish. It's not a new thing that started in Tafshin and Aleph in 1991. Seemingly it's something that existed before. So take a look, for example, the Sikha of Tazria Metzora and Likutei Sichas Chelech of Beis, in volume 22 of Likutei Sichas. This is, what year is it? That's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure what year the Sikha is from, but it's somewhere in the early MEMS, the early 80s. So, over there the Rebbe talks about how you have to realize that your avodah brings Geula. Your avodah brings Geula. Everything you do brings the Geula. Brings Mashiach. So in Sif Tes, the Rebbe talks about how a person how everything you do, you have to realize how it's bringing Geula. But then in Sif Yud, the Rebbe says the following thing, that even when you realize everything that you're doing is here to bring Geula and hastens the Geula, but there's two ways that you could be doing it. Aleph is der Herr to be sein avodah tazriya zazriya was wird bringen die tzmicha, die Geula. Aber das ist in an Open von sich Tia b'havayasei tehei. Als noch a Sach, was wird sein benifrat. So a person can think, I realize that like your avodah, this is like the planting which is going to bring the growth of Geula. But still, you can look at Geula as a separate thing. It's a different thing. It's not the same thing. Hal taka ba'achaka li b'chol yom sheyavai. When the avodah is sulidem sheyavai. You're awaiting Mashiach every day, and you're doing the avodah because you want the Geula to come. Ba'em houdt sich das aber wie noch an Inyan. As durch Maseinu v'avedaseinu bringt man alap in memahir abazin an Inyan b'yis Mashiach tzedkenu b'frad zachu achishana. Nevertheless, you don't feel that what you're doing now is connected to bringing Geula. So I'm doing whatever I can to bring Geula. I'm doing Torah and mitzvahs and everything's going to bring the Geula. But I don't feel that what I'm doing now is the same thing as Geula. Geula is another thing. I'm doing my avodah now, serving Hashem now, and that's bringing another thing which is called the Geula. Then Beis is the second way. Ahachara oifen is ba'em is tazriu mitzayra mechubaris. Der achakun kivinu kolim to the Geula was weit nirgish b'chol yom in zayin avodas tazriya. Is nit nor as jeder zayin avoda wird gleich goydem zayin sheyavai. Nor as die Geula hasida is eine Zach metochen avodasai. Weil bias HaMashiach is die tzmicha ubemela die shleimus von zayin zriya. Said another way, deeper is that you think and you feel that your avodah, when you're serving Hashem now in the Geula, it's all one thing. What I'm doing now, I'm planting, and the Geula is going to be the growth. So I feel that right now I am just planting for the Geula. I see a connection between what I'm doing now and what it's bringing when Mashiach comes. So what's the explanation? The Rebbe gives an explanation. V'yishlakash is that der mit was der Inn von Mashiach is was verdemelt is was demelt wird sein die Shleimus in Torah and die Shleimus in mitzvahs. We spoke many times already. What's going to happen when Mashiach will come? There'll be the Shleimus of Torah mitzvahs. Torah mitzvahs will reach their ultimate perfection. Tishbi Yataretz Kushiyas V'ibayes, right? Eliyahu Hanavi will come and answer all the unanswered questions. Mashiach Yegala Tamei Torah. Mashiach will reveal all the secrets of Torah, Yilami Torah, he'll teach Torah. And Koilu B'Lashon Rambam that HaMelech HaMashiach Osid Lamid Al-Hachsa Malchus David L'Yeshel L'Mamshala HaRishona. Like the Rambam says that Melech HaMashiach is going to come back and bring back Malchus Beis David. And he'll rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, gather in all the exiles, V'chayzin Kol HaMishpatim B'Yamav K'Shayim Mikayim, all the mitzvahs to return, Makrivin Korbanes, V'Yisem Shvitim V'Yevlis, K'chol Mitzvahs Amor B'Torah. So in other words, you realize that what I'm doing now, I'm doing Torah mitzvahs. So all of this is only going to reach its completion when Mashiach comes. So you feel that what I'm doing now, it's not just I'm doing whatever I can to bring Mashiach. I'm already starting what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Mashiach is the shleimus, is the ultimate perfection. And I'm getting myself ready. I'm getting myself in the mode of Geula. So if you think about it, it seems that these two ways over here are very similar to the two concepts we've been talking about until now. Doing whatever you can to bring Mashiach and living with Mashiach. So the first way is I'm doing whatever I can to bring Mashiach. Every single thing I'm doing is to bring Mashiach. But I still feel that right now I'm not living with Mashiach. Right now I'm still in Golas. I'm just doing whatever I can now that Mashiach should come in the future. A higher level, says the Rebbe, is that you realize your Avodah and Mashiach are one thing. So that's like living with Mashiach. Now what I'm doing now is already permeated with the concept that this is already a beginning of what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. In this sikh,
so one is that you said Hazir Mitzorah, so I didn't quite get it. So the second way is I understood the first one.
Yeah.
That brings to Mitzorah, but how within the Mechubros. So while you're doing the Kazriya,
it's so yeah. So again, so the Rebbe is saying over here, it's a different way of looking at your avodah. So you could look at your avodah as I'm doing my avodah now, and it's going to bring Mashiach. Right. So what I'm doing now has nothing to do with what's going to happen when Mashiach comes.
That's when they're separate.
That's when they're separate. Here what we're saying over here is what's going to happen when Mashiach will come. Torah and mitzvahs will reach their perfection. So I can look at my Torah mitzvahs now that I'm preparing myself for the shleimus of Torah mitzvahs when Mashiach will come. So I'm learning Torah today, right? So I can just be like, okay, I'm learning Torah today. Why am I doing it? Because I know when I learn Torah, Mashiach will come. But what's going to happen when Mashiach will come? Something else. I don't know. The Rebbe is saying no. That right now Mashiach is going to, let's say Mashiach is going to teach me the secrets of Torah. Right? Right now I'm doing. It's like I'm preparing for the Shiur. Mashiach is going to give the Shiur. He's going to give the class. Right now I'm preparing. I'm doing like the initial study, and then he'll give us the real deal, right? It's a different way of looking at learning Torah. It's not just I'm learning now and I'm doing it fine and perfect, and then it's going to bring Mashiach, and that's going to be something else. What I'm doing now is a preparation for Geula. That's like living with Mashiach. In other words, what I'm doing now is already connected with what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Yeah, another concept when the Rebbe talks about this idea. This I didn't make copies from Shabbos Parshas Kiseitze Tafshin Memvav. The Rebbe talks about in order that your avodah should be b'shleimos, so a person has to put himself in a matzav of Geula. You have to put yourself in in a mode of Geula. And when you realize that all the problems and the whole Golos and everything, all these problems, everything, it's only here for a moment. It's only for a moment, right? But very soon Mashiach is going to come. So then you're able to free yourself from all the things which are bevalvel you, which are bothering you and disturbing you and all these things. When you realize that all these problems, this whole chayshak, this is just temporary. And before you know it, it's all going away. So it's a similar idea that realizing that the Golos right now is only temporary, and that Mashiach is coming tomorrow, so it changes my avodah today. Then now I'm doing an avodah in such a way that I don't have nothing's mevalvum, because I realize Mashiach's coming. The whole Golos is just going to disappear in a moment.
Prepare for that day.
Yeah, prepare for that day. But if you think about it, So basically, this concept of living with the Geula, it's not something that started really in Tafshin and Aleph. It's not something that started in 1991 after Chav Ches Nissen, when the Rebbe said we have to do whatever we can to bring Mashiach, and we're holding on the threshold of redemption. It was always a concept, this idea that recognizing how our Avodah is really a preparation for Mashiach, it's one thing with Mashiach, or recognizing how Mashiach's about to come, and Golos is just a rega kota, and it's just for a second, and before you know it, Mashiach is going to come, and therefore, don't let anything be mevalvel you, don't let anything bother you in serving Hashem. Nevertheless, although this concept of living with the Mashiach seems to always exist, it seems that there is something unique that started in Tafshin and Aleph. So let's think about those other siches, right? And from Tazria Metzora or from Kiseitze Tafshin Memvav. So what are we saying over here? We're saying that, let's say Kiseitze Tafshin Memvav. So we're saying, I'm anticipating Mashiach, right? I believe he's coming, right? Golos is only temporary. So nothing should be mevalvel me. So it's much different than what we're saying in Tafshin and Aleph. Tafshin and Aleph, the Rebbe is saying much more than that. He's not saying just realize that you're awaiting Mashiach. Mashiach could come any moment. He's saying no. We're holding al saf hageula. We are here. We're on the threshold of redemption. Mashiach is already on his way. This is a nevuah. The Rebbe is telling us. We spoke about this once, right? He's telling us that this is something. This is a process that has started. That there's no turning back. Right? There's no turning back. This is the energy of Geula, so to say, has already come into the world, and it's here to stay. Right? With this process has already started. That's much deeper than saying that, oh, well, Golos is just temporary, and I hope and I believe that Mashiach is coming anytime. We're saying that Mashiach is already on his way. So, therefore also the way, so I think that's the main point. So therefore also the way we're able to live with Mashiach is different. So in Kisei Tashim Membav, what's the Rebbe saying? The Rebbe is saying that, okay, so I know Mashiach is coming, so nothing's going to bother me in my Avodas Hashem. So how am I living today? In other words, I'm doing Torah mitzvahs according to Shulchan Aruch. I'm doing the right thing. And because I believe that Mashiach is coming, so it's helping me do the right thing. In Tafshin and Aleph, the Rebbe is saying the whole Torah mitzvahs has to be done in a different way. You have to start doing it the way you're going to do it after Mashiach comes. That's what living with Mashiach means. Not just I'm living with, okay, that tomorrow Mashiach is going to come, and so it helps me do my Avodah today. I'm doing my Avodah different today. I'm doing it similar to the way when Mashiach comes. Similarly, also to Tazria Metzora. The Rebbe says you have to realize that your Avodah now is like one thing with the Geula. It's the preparation for the Geula. It's going to reach its perfection when the Geula comes. But it's still there. How am I doing my Avodah now? I'm still just doing the Avodah in Golos. I'm not doing anything different. I just recognize and I feel that this is all part and parcel of a greater picture of the Geula. It's all one big hemshech. It's all one continuation. But practically speaking, what am I doing today? How am I learning today? How am I doing Torah mitzvahs today? It's not necessarily any different. I'm just doing it the way you're supposed to do in Golos. Okay, obviously it gives me a bigger chayas, it gives me a greater excitement, but it's not essentially different. Tafshin and Aleph, the Rebbe is saying, now that we're holding al saf ha-geula, now we're holding on the threshold of Geula, you can do avodas Hashem in a new and different way. You can do it in a different way. You can start living with the way Jews will live after Mashiach comes. This is something which was, I think, not possible before. Before we reach this era, that we're holding al saf ha-geula, on the threshold of Geula, and like the Rebbe says, the inyane ha-geula have already started. It was not possible to serve Hashem in such a way. Now that we're holding al saf ha-geula, the threshold of Geula, now we could start serving Hashem in a different way. Something that was not possible beforehand. So I think, the only thing that I think it's similar to is the Gili of Teres Achsidus. So the Baal Shem Tov, and then the Alter Rebbe and all of the Rebbeim, they came to this world the neshamas were sent down here to reveal a new dimension of Torah Chassidus. So what did Chassidus do? Chassidus revealed a whole new way of serving Hashem, a whole new level, something that was not possible beforehand. Chassidus opened up our eyes to a whole new world, explained what it really means to serve Hashem, and it's something that before the revelation of Chassidus was not possible because the time wasn't ripe yet. It says the Chassidus is a te'ima of Torah Shel Mashiach, the taste of the Torah of Mashiach. So it seems that in the Gili of Chassidus itself, so we're holding the revelation of Chassidus, we're holding on another stage. So even after the revelation of Chassidus, and we know that the whole concept of Chassidus is it's a taste of Torah Shel Mashiach, but even in Chassidus there wasn't always this emphasis of the connection to the Geula. So we knew, that Chassidus, this is Torah Shel Mashiach. But it wasn't until our generation in general, and specifically in the last Sichas, where the Rebbe kept on emphasizing more and more and explaining to us how Chassidus, this is Mashiach, and this is the taste of Mashiach. So it would seem that even in our avodah of Chassidus, it's also a new emphasis. How literally we're able to live in the same way that we're going to be able to live after Mashiach comes. So obviously it's all connected. It's all part of the Gili of Chassidus. But seemingly it's like it's another stage. So it seems that also all of this connects also to the concept that we discussed in the previous Shiur, that every single Jew has a nitzutz of Mashiach. Every single Jew has a spark of Mashiach. That's his Yechida Shebenefesh. It's the highest level of the neshama, or even deeper, it's the etzem hanefesh, the essence of the soul. And it's through revealing our nitzutz Mashiach, our spark of Mashiach, that will bring, like we discussed last time, that will bring the general Mashiach. So now we could say that we could spin it a little bit different. We say since every single Jew has a nitzutz Mashiach, therefore every single Jew even now is able to live in a way of Mashiach. Since you have a spark of Mashiach, through revealing your nitzutz Mashiach, you could live today in the way that's masin, in the way that fits for your Yemaisa Mashiach. So that's our avodah today. Our avodah today is that now, even before the Geula comes, even if chas v'shalom the Geula is being delayed a moment, but since we're living in such a special time, so today we are able to live differently than we were able to live 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and before. Because now we're holding on a new stage. We're able to live with Mashiach. And the Rebbe connects the two. The Rebbe says that through living with Mashiach, that's also what it hastens and brings Mashiach b'poil. And we should taka b'zoicha that Mashiach should come, take it from Yad Mamash, and take us out of Golus.
Moshiach,